Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Monday night, Memorial Day, May 29th, 2023. It's about 10:08 p.m. here along the West Coast in the state of California. Latest quake shows a 2.1 up into the Alaska area. Up there on the green flag, as you can see, cluttered underneath a little pancake of activity up there into the Alaska region. Starting off here with the tremor activity here across the region of the Cascadia Subduction Zone here tonight. We're looking at 695 epicenters of tremor. This is actually still accumulating here with the amount of totals here that we're seeing over the last week. So we pull up the last week or so. Looks like this began about on Wednesday or so, a little bit prior to Wednesday. But we're coming up on a pretty good total of over 3,000 epicenters of tremor along the Cascadia. Of course, that includes tonight's activity or today's activity as well, and it's all centered here around the southern end of the Cascadia Subduction Zone, and it has surpassed the previous large tremor event. I thought it was a large tremor event, but back in April we had a little trigger of tremor. If you look here on the graph, you can see regular intervals of significant tremor throughout the years here. Our last one was back in October of 2022, just last year, and we had a pretty significant quiet spell here since then, and I was expecting this one that popped up in April to be a significant event. Well, it failed to reach up into significant levels, but it looks as though this one that we're currently seeing right now is worth watching. And the majority of it is down here into the southern end of the Cascadia Subduction Zone. Not for sure if they put out anything on their information statement here. Looks like the latest update was put back out in April 2023, and it was chatting about the tremor event back then, but as you can see, no recent update since then. Just kind of continue to watch that and see how it plays out here along the Cascadia. No earthquake activity being reported up here. That's just due to the Memorial Day holiday. USGS taking the day off, not reporting any microquakes. I'm sure they'll get to it tomorrow. Same with the Yellowstone area. There in Northern California, got one earthquake here outside of Redding with a 2.6. This earthquake coming in, of course, early this morning. We're looking for anything new tonight. And as far as new activity goes, well, a little spotty out here once again until you get down here to the Santa Barbara area where we did see some movement. Kicking off earlier this evening with a couple ones just off the 101 here into the Santa Barbara Channel. Looks like that's off the Red Mountain Fault Zone. A little bit of activity creeping up on that segment. Over here around the Yucca Valley area, getting a little bit of swarming, mostly smaller microquakes there in the 1 range, about 9 kilometers or so at the southern end of the Johnson Valley Fault. The southern Johnson Valley Fault Zone. Now, it is in an area that's fairly complex in terms of stress and plate tectonics here in fault systems. As you can see, there's numerous faults here running off the San Andreas Fault, which is the plate boundary here. And of course, this area is a spider web of fault systems, and looks like it's a little bit active here tonight in terms of earthquake activity there, just north of the Yucca Valley area. Nothing major going on yet, but still a little sign of some increasing pressure out here. Also one earthquake here at the extreme southern edge of the San Andreas Fault off the Brawley seismic zone within the last hour, a 1.0. Nothing big. These little microquakes, unless it turns into a major swarm, are really nothing of concern. All right, let's see what we got here for the tremor event, or not tremor, but Yellowstone. Pull over here real quick and see if we got Yellowstone kicking up, hopefully. There we go. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. It's a little slow here with their website recently. Definitely not my end. So we're going to switch over to, well, okay, they're popping up. They're popping up a little bit, so we'll let them load. But it looks as though a little bit of activity here across the I'm seeing a little bit of signatures here across the eastern segment here of the Yellowstone area around Parker Peak. It looks like nothing major, but there is a signature over here. I'm wondering about that. I don't know what's going on with this site, to be honest. It's a little sketchy, so I'm going to go off of that and see what's going on here with that signature. I did see a little bit of maybe it was this 5.8 we were seeing there kicking up here around the Volcano Islands, Japan area. This came in earlier, a couple hours or so ago. Pretty shallow earthquake, almost a 6-pointer. So that was what we were seeing there as far as a signature, a distant signature there across Yellowstone. Of course, thousands of miles away. Let me go back here. But I'm not going to go to the Yellowstone site here, isthisthingon.org. They've been a little fishy lately with their data. They're slow. Server, I'm not for sure what's going on, so I think I'm going to start checking just the live data here from the U.S. or the University of Utah, the official sites here, so, until they get that site fixed. As far as earthquake activity goes, looks like there was thunderstorms here a few hours ago. This is very typical there with the thunderstorm activity. I just kind of like that drawn out layout there of Yellowstone. It's kind of hard to see and look at every other seismograph station here across the area. But the 5.8 there in Japan, I believe that's going to be that signature right there. But far as any local activity, very minimal for Yellowstone National Park currently. All right, let's get back here. We're just talking about Yellowstone here, so let's work our way south and east. Oklahoma, a little bit of movement out there in the beautiful state of Oklahoma. Nothing major. Over here, across the New Madrid seismic zone, one earthquake down here into the western Tennessee area, 2.3. Now we got a little bit of activity working its way north here into western Kentucky. A little odd seeing some 3-pointers up there. It looks like that's just outside of the Calhoun area. Calhoun. I believe that's correct. Calhoun. Hopefully. If not, I will be corrected. Madisonville sits down to the southwest here. So a little bit of activity kicking up there tonight, it looks like. The U.S. hazard map has it outside of the zone. Of course, the New Madrid seismic zone here sits in the red colored areas. Now the darker kind of a yellow, I don't know, ugly brown color, I guess. So this activity here, not for sure where it's what is kicking on, whether it's a fault system or just let's go here real quick and see what we got. I don't think there's any oil wells out here, is there? 14 kilometers deep and 6. A lot of vegetation, a lot of greenery going on out there across the area of Kentucky. So it's kind of hard to say, but a little unusual activity. We don't see too much activity out there in this region of Kentucky. Rest of the country looks pretty quiet. Down across the Caribbean plate as well. South America, we got one earthquake down here into the Argentina area from early this morning, about 8 o'clock or so. Had a pretty deep earthquake down there into the Argentina region. There is a looks to be a 5.1 down here coming in recent off the coast of South America area. Nothing showing up here across the USGS map, as you can see. That would be on the plate boundary here just north of the Drake Passage region. But that's being reported, it looks like, from the EMSC. Also a little bit of activity further up north along the Peru-Chile Trench. There's actually quite a bit of activity here in the 2 and 3 range listed up here on the map. So can't really go with what the USGS is stating here, otherwise we'd be in the dark. Over here around South Atlantic Ocean, one oddball earthquake here, well south. I would say that's well south of South Africa. 5.7 coming in earlier this afternoon, 10 kilometers deep. That's a divergent boundary out here. Looks like the close to the Shaka fracture zone. That being reported by the USGS. Also showing up here on the globe as well. So definitely a little bit of movement kicking up there over the last 24 hours. 3.4 coming in around the North Island. Actually, it looks like it's just outside Wellington area. Nothing showing up from the USGS map, so bugs again. Let's see what we have here for the GeoNet servers. It's just, I don't think these bugs are going to go away until we get some significant heat waves. I'm talking about above 100, and then they start to go away. Right now it's been in the mid 80s and nice and cool and moist overnight, and it's just a breeding ground for bugs out here. 3.7 coming in, that's the earthquake in question there. 3.4 by the EMSC, it looks like. So GeoNet reporting a 3.7 here outside of the Wellington area as mentioned. You can see that. Really close here in between North and South Island area. About 115 reports of some shaking, mostly weak to light shaking, being reported majority around the Wellington North Island area. And again, that's just coming in here within the last 20 minutes or so. Earthquake drums will probably show that earthquake right here, as you can see. Let's see if we can find a station that will pick it up prominently. Looks like a couple of these here, just barely being picked up here across that station. This activity right here doesn't look like earthquake movement. It looks like some type of outside interference. Aside from that, some movement earlier, way earlier this morning, late last night, I guess, down there in the South Island area. But aside from that, we'll kind of see how this plays out there across the New Zealand area. 4.8 Tonga. A couple hours ago, well, about an hour or so ago, up on the Tonga Trench. This comes after some deep earthquake activity here across the Vanuatu region. We've seen that 5.0 coming in earlier this afternoon. 616 kilometers deep here into the Vanuatu region, putting a strain and stress back building up here across the Pacific plate boundary here. Definitely got to watch that. Showing some seismically active activity. Aside from that, 4.7, the recent quake here outside of Manila into the Philippines region, 85 kilometers deep. Now the 5.8 here in the Volcano Islands area is a little interesting earthquake here. We really haven't seen too much deeper movement quakes here. In fact, we haven't really seen anything out here across the Mariana Trench, the Izu Trench, and the eastern edge here of the Filipino plate. It's been awfully quiet, and the typical strain here in this area, as you can see across the region here, puts this area here, this is the eastern edge of the Filipino plate, under the gun with some significant slip rate here, and we've hardly seen anything here over the last week. I think it goes beyond that. Here's the last 30 days of activity. A little bit of movement here outside of Guam, but looking at recent activity here, the past couple weeks is very quiet here across that region. We may be looking at some larger quake activity building within this region soon. It's probably already building. Let's see here. Further to the south, around the Banda Sea area, some earthquake activity this morning, it looks like. Let's see what else we have here across this region. There's that, well, EMSC reporting that as a 5.9 there along the Japan area, or the Volcano Islands, I should say, well, south of Japan. Not a whole lot through the Java Trench or the rest of the area across Himalayas. Some movement across the Mediterranean and Turkey. 2s and 3s kicking up there. 5.1 again down there south of the Chile area. Nothing showing up there across the USGS model. Just not 100% certain why, but hopefully they'll get to it. All right, the Big Island. Anything going on out here across the Kilauea volcano area? This is definitely noteworthy to watch here with all the uptick and movement, the tilt data showing inflation. Still some earthquake activity. Let's go over there real quick and check out the volcano hazards map across the Kilauea volcano. Have to go to their site and zoom in to a local seismograph station to see what's going on here. Let's see here. Let's zoom in just slightly. A little clutter. Here's the tilt meter. Oh, that one's not going to work. It's UWE. Not UWD, but UWE. Here's the last day or so, 2 days. Still showing some gradual inflation here across the summit region with earthquake activity. Let's see if we can bring in a seismograph station here. One of these is going to show something, right? Let's check out this seismograph station here. Past 12 hours or so. Continues to show elevated earthquake activity across the region of Kilauea. Again, that's some of the earthquake activity we're seeing on the USGS map. So we'll continue to watch that. There's not a whole lot of change yet, but I do think it's noteworthy to watch here over the next few days. And I still think we're within that 3-week time period of seeing that volcano come up upon the eruptive status list once again. Here's the latest update here from the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. Currently not erupting. It's the same deal. Currently exhibiting signs of heightened unrest. Summit seismicity remains elevated. Blah, blah, blah. We get it. Okay, that's obvious with the earthquake activity and the tilt. Inflationary tilt and the elevated seismicity continues. And that's obviously a sign of magma rising up to the surface or intruding the areas below. All right, up into the Alaska region. Let's see what we got for 2.5 and above. Not a whole lot. One coming in here to the Cook Cook Inlet area. 2.6, 73 kilometers deep. Aside from that, very minimal activity at best there across the region of Alaska. Space weather activity here. Hoping for some change here from the boringness that we're seeing here across the sun. We do have a couple sunspot regions here that are growing, including this area down here. Looks like it's getting a little complex structure on this southern core. Watch that area. Also some growth back building here along the western edge here of this regional sunspot. Couple different ones here I guess we're going to watch. We've got 1, 2, 3 noteworthy to watch here. And around the eastern limb here of the sun, down here on the southeastern limb, looks like a little activity kicking up here. Currently, well, it's not named, but definitely noteworthy to watch. Overall threat right now shows 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 40, X flare around 10% chance. Let's see if we got anything flaring currently. Well, it's a little spotty here. No, nothing major going on currently, but there is, of course, a couple different sunspots to watch there, as mentioned, for some further flaring. No major coronal holes. The aurora forecast, well, you're out of luck if you're looking for the auroras. Very minimal up there at the higher latitudes, and there's really not a huge change at all for the aurora forecast here over the next few nights, unless we get something major going on, but we'll continue to watch that as the sun continues right into the solar maximum. We're currently at a lowered level compared to the months past, but we're still above the predicted sunspot number progression rate put out here by the folks there at the Space Weather Prediction Center. Also, the solar flux progression dipping down into the predictive stage. Continue to watch this, though, as we head into solar maximum about summer 2025. I'm not in the hurry to get to 2025. All right, weather activity. Very minimal conditions out there for severe weather. Mostly thunderstorms and just some rain in general. And much needed rain into certain areas of the country. Here's the total accumulated precipitation amount. We'll zoom this in here. I think we can zoom a couple weeks in advance. And this goes up until June 15th, middle of June. Look at that. Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Colorado. Goodness, you guys are going to get a good soaking of rain out there. It's a much needed areas. Of course, this is a very typical summertime pattern. El Nino coming up, right? We're looking at the El Nino as we head towards into summer. I think we're going to be seeing this pattern for a little while. But again, some of these regions looking at 6 to 7 inches of rainfall here with this moisture pattern that's coming up. West Coast, of course, drying out a little bit. Not too often do we see significant rainfall out here in the summertime. Kind of late spring, not even summer yet. Not even June, but still some good moisture being produced out there. All right, let me see what we have for the back out of here a little bit. Want to look at the long-term patterns, see if we got anything major changing here across the Pacific area. This will give us a good indicator of any significant maybe pattern changes. Of course, California, we're still out here somewhat average, a little bit below average with the troughs that are building out here over the past couple months. Looking out into the future, continues to show troughing into Southern California. No significant pattern. Got to watch this though. This is typical of the ridge that we see out here in the Eastern Pacific, but it's a little bit more scooted up north and west. This would cook us here along the west coast if it was a little bit further east. But looks like there's a little bit of troughing here as we head into June. Of course, the moisture being pulled up here, some type of subtropical moisture that would be producing some somewhat monsoonal moisture into the areas around Texas and northward. We'll keep that high pressure system out of the west coast, hopefully. Don't need no major heat spell out here. No, thank you. All right, folks, have a good night. We'll definitely catch you guys back out here sometime tomorrow. Hope everyone enjoyed their Memorial Day weekend. For those that had it off, we'll catch you guys back here a little bit later tomorrow.